if your nervous system is like this, i.e. imbalanced, because this is balanced, but if it is like this, then your libido is most likely like this, okay? So in this video, we're gonna make sure that you're balancing coming in here so that you can go here in the bedroom. So we will see you on the other side of this. Did you know that when it comes to your libido, you cannot separate that from your nervous system? Okay, that's a key point to remember. Now, if we look at your nervous system, there's two primary parts. This is called your autonomic nervous system. So here's your autonomic, which means automatic. You don't have to think about it. It comes down into two branches, okay? The first branch is called your sympathetic nervous system, right? This is like your green light. This is the part of you that says, go, go, go. Think, build the house, row the boat, pull up on the fishing pole, anything that requires energy. That is your sympathetic nervous system in its full glory. Now, on the other side of things, you've got your parasympathetic nervous system. This is your red light. It says go. I hope I said green light here. This is your green light, just to make sure I'm saying this right. This one is your red light. This says stop, relax, calm down, right? Get into silence, rest, and digest, as you may have commonly heard, okay? So within these two, one is not right and one is not wrong. But if I were to ask you a question, in our 21st century way of living, where would you think we are at on this sympathetic, parasympathetic teeter-totter? Are we perfectly balanced? Or are we go, 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 stress, do more, make more money, stay up late? All of those have a cost that elicit the sympathetic nervous system, right? And it takes the parasympathetic nervous system, so it brings the sympathetic nervous system up and the parasympathetic nervous system function down, okay? This chronic imbalance, if we're there day in and day out, and if we make a lifestyle that is highly stressful, and not even, I won't even say that. There's times where people think, well, I'm not that stressed, but then I look at their day and they're doing, they're pulling at least a 12-hour day all the time. That might not be completely strictly work, but maybe they come and they work and then they're out in the yard and they're raking leaves and they're playing with their kids and they're highly sympathetic. They're not taking time for silence. They're not getting adequate sleep. And so their teeter-totter starts to go like this and they don't even know it. And because they're flying on caffeine and Red Bull and everything else, it masks the symptoms and it keeps bringing it up. All those things actually tilt the scale more. That's important because what is our go-tos? Our actual go-tos that we think are balancing us out are actually driving the problem worse. So there's a term for this called dysautonomia. And this is basically the dysregulation of the autonomic nervous system. And if you look online, there's a number of symptoms. I'm going to go through a few of them here. First and foremost, and relevant to this video, is that dysautonomia is intricately linked to sexual dysfunction. As a guy with testosterone and human growth hormone and everything that plays into the function of sexuality, that is largely, not exclusively, but largely a parasympathetic response. Now, if we're like this and sexuality requires a parasympathetic response, that's not going to vie well in the bedroom, and it's not going to vie well for your overall sexual health. Then what do? We go for an over-the-pill or over-the-counter prescription or a doctor's prescribed, and sure, it can temporarily solve a problem, but even ironically, that can tilt the scale even further in time, and there are studies to support that. That is not just my opinion. Now, with other symptoms, if you feel when you get up from sitting, if you get faint or dizzy, like a POTS kind of syndrome, that is very indicative of an imbalanced nervous system. Nausea, vomiting, that's more on the extreme end, but that can be indicative. Brain fog, the ability to think clearly. If that is, you're like, man, I can't concentrate. I get like all over like a bouncing bunny. That can be very indicative of an imbalanced nervous system. Diarrhea, constipation, vacillating between those two states, very much indicative of an imbalanced nervous system. Fatigue, being cranky, mood fluctuations, frequent urge to pee. If you're up at night, I've suffered this in my own life. I even recently, when I overdraw my nervous system, it's like, man, like the old pissing like a racehorse becomes a reality very, very quickly because that nervous system just wants to extricate it out. So sleeping problems, if you've got insomnia, classic imbalanced nervous system, you're sympathetically dominant. It's that almost like a telltale sign. And then shortness of breath. If you find yourself chest breathing or almost subconsciously like quick choppy breathing, mouth breathing into the chest, that is dysregulation of the nervous system. And you can almost guarantee that hormones and everything are going to be imbalanced, okay? So the question now becomes, how do we balance this out? How do we come back to where we feel more alive, we feel like an energized man? That is going to be absolutely huge. So first and foremost, I want you to just kind of think of like a more of a balanced approach. And so you have a little diagram here, and it's a big square, but a little square here, 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 and here. This is called the 4-doctor approach. I've talked about it in other videos, but basically, and all credit to Paul Chek, he talks about the 4-doctor approach in which there is, in this first column, this is where we call Dr. Happy. This is really how energized, how alive we feel, how happy are we on a scale of 1 to 10, how purposeful do we feel in life. And we know intuitively and instinctively what the answer to that question is, right? This is kind of our barometer of our overall health. Now, on the opposite end of that, we have Dr. Quiet, okay? And this is where this encompasses our sleep. This encompasses, this is kind of like the yin and the yang. This is the yin to the yang. So if I'm working 8 to 10 hours a day and I'm burning the candle, how can I offset the energy that was involved in that masculine energy to actually bring it back into balance? Okay, how can I do that? And that the answer might be, it could be through meditation. It could be through a simple walk. It could be through singing. It could be through dance. It could be through artistic creativity. It could be any of those venues to help balance that almost expressive masculine energy that we are on a daily basis utilizing almost too much, right? If we're being honest. Now, over on the other side of the 4 quadrants, we have what's called Dr. Diet. That's pretty self-explanatory. What kind of foods are we eating? Are they good, clean, hopefully organic, natural foods that our body is intended to ingest? Because we are what we eat, even down to the very molecular level. We literally are to our DNA what we eat. And if we're trying to rebuild any kind of hormonal system, if we're struggling in the areas of libido or concentration or brain fog, we can trace back and we can say, okay, am I giving my body the tools and the building blocks that actually constitute what's going to build the hormone? What is going to build the neurotransmitter? What is going to actually build a good blood pressure and a strong heart? That is what you eat, right? We cannot extricate. We cannot put it over here and say, well, okay, I just need a medication for this. No, there is something that builds those systems, okay? So then on the other side of it, we've got, let's see, so we did happy, we did Dr. Quiet and Dr. Movement. Then down here, we've got exercise. How are we moving our body? Are we moving it too much? Are we moving it too little? And I do want to emphasize on the too much. Sometimes we get hardcore, and guys in their 40s, we have something to prove. And so maybe we get into the hardcore CrossFit and we overdo it. I've certainly been guilty of this myself, where it is easy to want to prove something to myself, and I just keep going. My body in the background saying, no, 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 like come back, scale back. I'm like, to hell with you. I'm going to keep going no matter what, because I have to, again, prove myself. My ego is in charge. That is going to overdo it. What if, on the other hand, I listen to my body and they're like, you know what? I need to move. Obviously, I need to be involved in physical activity, but I'm going to take it down a notch today. there is balance, okay? Not gonna go into what constitutes all the proper amounts of exercise. That's not the point of this video. The whole point is, how do we balance this out? When our nervous system is in imbalance, when it's in this sympathetic tilt, there is consequences to it. So how can we bring the sympathetic drive, I should say here, sympathetic drive down here and bring our parasympathetic nervous system up to where we are more even killed and able, this is the key thing, able to synthesize the hormones, able to garner strength, have recovery. All of that is absolutely contingent on how level we are. So that said, look at the key elements using these 4-doctor model that I just talked about. Be honest with yourself. What areas need a little bit of help? Again, no guilt or shame. Where can you improve? I am more than happy if you have comments, questions. I'm more than happy to answer those, make sure that I'm here for you. If you would like to go deeper and see if we might make a good fit, click on the link below. We can hop on a discovery call where we're going to look really into your journey up to this point and see how we can optimize that and see if we would be a good fit. Other than that, we will see you on the next video. Remember, life is good, and we will see you shortly. Take care.